What's up guys, Sean here with Spencer Lawn Care. How's everybody doing on this beautiful Tuesday morning? We have some special friends here from Kohler Engines. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Ryan Prigge, Kohler Engines, National Account Manager.
Mike Kelly, Kohler Engines, National Account Manager.
Alright guys, so they have a really cool product that I've kind of shown you guys already, but we've had a ton of questions on the brand spanking new 300-hour oil change kit from Kohler and AmSoil. And they came down here all the way from Wisconsin, and they're going to show us exactly how to do it and answer some of your questions. So let's go ahead and hop into the video. So Ryan, the most important question is how much can people save by using a 300-hour oil change kit versus a typical oil change kit that's typically what, 100 hours?
Yep, 100 hours is what the engine manufacturers recommend. So it's gonna depend on the engine you have. You know, today we're gonna be doing it on our 38 horsepower big block. So this specific kit actually requires 3 quarts of oil. It's the same oil filter as the other kits. There is an oil kit that has 1 quart and a filter, as well as one with 2 quarts and a filter. So if we take that middle ground with a normal small block engine with 2 quarts of oil and an oil filter, what you're talking about for a conventional kit for 10W30, you're looking at about $22 to do an oil change, not counting your labor that's associated. For a 2-quart oil filter, 300-hour oil change, you're looking at about 40 bucks. So about $18 difference, but you're changing the oil once out of 3 different oil changes, right?
Okay.
So the intervals are extended, so you're saving money and you're saving a lot of labor. So your labor costs in there as well, saving even more time.
Absolutely. So roughly $18 more, but you're getting 3 times the length. So I mean 100 hours, 300 hours, and like you said, saving on that labor as well. Yep. So that's a really good feature.
And one of the things that we looked at is, you know, an average mow, and again, some mow more, some mow less, is about 600 hours a year on a mower. So if you take that plus your labor and the cost of the materials, your savings about $220 a year in materials and labor costs. But if, again, like I was telling you earlier, if you look at it from a margin standpoint, that's just an instant savings. But if you're running at 25% margin on all your jobs with, you know, the cost of maintenance and everything else, that's almost $900 a year in work that you're not doing. So how many lawns can you cut for 900 bucks?
Yeah.
And that's what you're saving.
And that's on one unit. So if you have multiple units, it could add up really quickly.
Absolutely.
TQ, come in here real quick. If you guys notice, the oil filter is on top of the engine here. And Mike, do you want to kind of tell us exactly what that is? Won't that make a mess on top of the engine if I go to take it off?
Oh, that's a good question. We get that a lot. And actually, in the design of this engine, we decided to do something different to make oil changes easier, cleaner, so you don't make a mess when you pull the oil filter off. This is what we call our Dripless Oil Filter. It's kind of a neat feature that's exclusive to the Kohler engine on the 999. Really, the way this works is you remove the filter like you normally would, and as you're unscrewing the filter, the oil is draining back in the engine. As you're unscrewing it, it may be hard to see in the video, but there's a cup that follows the oil filter up underneath the filter. So when you get to the end, now all the oil is actually drained out of the filter into that cup that's on there. Wow, so rather than dripping down the engine.
Oh, okay. Huh. No mess, guys.
So no drips.
It's not all over my new driveway either. I like that a lot. That's actually really cool. I didn't know that.
Yep. Kind of a neat feature that's on the 999.
So now this filter is different than the 300-hour oil change filter, correct?
Yeah, you have to use the new 300-hour filter in conjunction with the oil to get that extended oil change. We made a lot of changes to the internal components, including the media, the pop-off valve, wire back media. There's a lot of changes that make these two things work together and make the filter you put on important when you do the 300-hour oil change.
That's really cool. I'll tell you what, I've had some engines before. That oil filter can be hidden in some weird spots. So that's simple, man, and I like simple.
When you go to the oil change, it's the same as you do on any of your other engines, except you didn't have to clean up all that mess that got underneath from the oil filter. So the thing is to make sure that it's parked on a level surface. Again, depending on how warm the oil is or how cold, it'll take longer to drain, but most of you guys know how to do that. You just drain the oil out, wait for it to stop draining, and then we can go back to the next step. Now, in order to make the oil drain a little quicker, you can pull the dip or the fuel tube off so it doesn't have the suction in the engine. Probably the most important thing is remember to put your oil drain plug back in and tighten it down. make it good and tight, but remember you have to take it off again someday.
So let's open up this kit and see exactly what's inside, guys. So if you notice, this filter is blue. Boom, bada bing. That's going to show you that this filter is different than the other filter. And it comes with 3 quarts of oil. Now, you're going to want to check your oil level as you're adding it back in, because it may not take 3 full quarts. So just want to hit that full level on your dipstick. But they give you plenty enough here so that you have a little bit extra too, so that you're topping off your engine, because the number one thing you want to be doing is checking your oil engine levels every single day and just making sure it's full. So typical oil changes, Mike, you would take oil and put it into your filter halfway. That's normally how most people think it goes. Well, with this thing being pressure lubricated, when you put this on there empty and you start this thing up, it's automatically going to shove the oil up into the filter. So you don't have to worry about it not having oil in it whatsoever.
Next thing you want to do is, before you put the oil filter on, you want to take a small amount of your oil out of the can and put it onto the sealing surface. Just spread, you don't need a lot, just spread it on with your finger to get oil on this. It'll prevent the gasket from sticking next time you go to pull it off. Put the oil filter back on in the reverse order you took it off. Screw it on. When you get to where it's about tight, you try to turn it about another quarter of a turn, and that's tight. Again, that's the extended oil filter for this. Again, remember, the blue filter alone doesn't get you 300 hour oil change. The oil alone doesn't. The two together get you the 300 oil change intervals. Okay, there's a lot of different fill check sticks on Kohler engines. This particular one has the what we call the quarter turn. At the end, you just tighten it down to quarter turn. The way you check these is a little different than the screw-on or the pull-outs. You take the dipstick out, you set it on top, you turn it backwards, you get to a position that it clicks down in. That's where you should be checking your oil each time. And again, what that does is really prevents you from overfilling the oil. These engines are actually very sensitive, like all air-cooled engines, because of their sump capacities to overfilling. So be careful, when you get to the end, make sure that you bring it up to that fill mark and not overfill it. Again, this engine takes over a little over 2 quarts. So as you're filling it, you probably want to stop somewhere before that 2 quart number and check the oil to make sure that it's at the right level, and then add from there. Adding the oil is easy. I always suggest a funnel. Some people are a better shot than I am, but if you want to continue not making a mess, I like the funnel.
So Mike, should you check the oil level when the oil is hot, or should you do it like first thing in the morning when the engine's cold? The level will be very close. We usually suggest that you do it first thing in the morning, and when all the oil's down in the pan. Okay. So again, I think you talked about it early. What you don't want to do is, just because it's 300 hour oil change intervals, forget your daily checks and routines. Make sure you check the oil level daily. This oil does lead to about 50% less oil consumption than a standard oil. Yeah. So again, you should see that change, and probably won't have to add as often, but again, make sure that you check it and top it off. Yeah, and I know one of the questions a lot of people said, my engine's got 1,500 hours on it. Will this oil hurt it? And I know you were kind of saying like it'll actually protect it better. It's a better oil. So, is there anything you want to kind of throw out there to anybody that may have that concern that, this is something totally different than a normal oil change? Is it going to protect it? What makes it a little bit better,
Well, really what it is this is all about the oil that we formulated together with AMSOIL. We didn't just relabel a standard oil and say we're going to go to 300 hour oil changes because we thought that would be cool to do. We actually work with AMSOIL, who's really a leader in synthetic fuels. They make a lot of different synthetic fuels. Went to them and kind of told them what we wanted to see in an engine up and above the 300 hour oil change. We wanted to see things like, less paraffins, less things in the engine, more synthetics, so that the viscosity can stay the same through the entire life of the engine. A lot of your other oils over a period of time, because you guys that are in this industry know that air-cooled engines run hotter under a heavier load than even your car does. Mm-hmm. So what happens is those viscosity enhancers come out of the oil after a period of time, and you don't have, what they call a 1030 or a 1040. It changes to just a 10 weight. So you need that viscosity enhancer to bring that oil weight out. So this oil is specifically formulated for that. Also, by taking the paraffins out, it allows the starting temperature to be lower. So this is an all-season oil. In the past, we used to recommend different oils for different times of the year. This is an all-season oil. You can use this in here winter, spring, summer, fall, all season, so you don't have to change your oil.
So you can leave it in there all winter if you need to.
Yep. And we also talk about that. We added a lot of corrosion inhibitors, which you can't actually put in automotive oils. The corrosion inhibitors we add would wreck a catalytic converter and things, so cars don't have it. Something we specifically wanted in our oil additive, and it really just coats the inside of the engine and keeps all the components from rusting. So if you would happen to run into a time of the season where you were, into your 300-hour oil change, but you weren't finished, you still had another 200 hours left. In the past, I think a lot of practice would be to change that oil when you got to a new season. You can leave this in because of the corrosion inhibitors, and not have to change it until the 300 hours. So again, saving you money and saving you labor all year long.
Don't ask me what a paraffin is or all those other words he said. That's not me, guys. So
yeah, it's pretty. Paraffin's a wax, and that's what they use in standard oils to do viscosity enhancers, and that's why it goes away over time. Heat, you know what heat does to paraffin if you ever burn a candle? It goes away, so then you don't have that viscosity anymore. This stays at the end of the 300 hours. This is still a 50 weight viscosity oil. It still meets that criteria even after 300 hours.
Very nice.
So, now that we bored you to death, I'll put another cord in. And again, as you look on the dipstick, it clearly shows the full end, the low mark on the oil. Again, make sure that when you're filling it, you don't overfill the engine. Try to get as close to the full mark as you can without going over. And actually, it's right at the full mark. If you can see, it's really clean oil, but it's right at the full mark. So what I like to do at this point, though, once you get to the full mark, just like you do in your car and the other oil change, let's get it started up, let it run for a while, and then recheck the oil before we call it done.
So TQ is going to do us the honors of starting it up, and then we're going to check that oil level again and go from there. So that is the oil change beeper going off. We'll have to reset that in just 1 minute. Okay, so now we're going to check the level once again because it's had a chance to pull that oil up into the filter, and we'll go from there.
And now you can see it's below the add mark, so we need to add a little bit more oil.
So what I like to do, guys, is I'll keep my extra oil. Once we top this off, I'll just go ahead and keep it in the truck or on the trailer somewhere. I don't have the box on the new trailer, as you guys know, so I just keep it right in the door of the truck. And every morning or whenever we do our checks, we can just top mowers off real quick. It's very rare that we have to add, but it's always good to be better safe than sorry, if you know what I'm saying.
Probably a good time to mention, though, another thing on this oil, we knew there'd be questions about how this works and if you can actually do this in a mower, but we have over 30,000 hours of testing, both in the lab and field testing. So we've tested this a lot. We've tore down engines at 1,500 hours and looked at wear, etc. on the engine, and we actually saw less wear than you would on a standard oil at 100 hours. So again, we're really up on being able to do this. There we go, right at the full mark.
All right, guys, so the oil change is completely done, but Mike wanted to show us something really cool that I had no clue about on this engine. So you want to go ahead and show him, Mike?
Sure. And these engines, as you know, grass and things are moved through the cooling down over the cooling fin. So what we did on the 999 and a lot of our different engines, we added what we call clean out ports. On the 999, the entire ear of the blower housing comes off. There's 2 screws on the side, which you don't have to take all the way out. They're actually slotted in one on the top. You just pull this off and you get access to all the area where grass would collect. And with this off, you can just take your air and blow this out. You can see in this corner here, we're starting to get a little bit, but this one's really in good shape. But again, something you want to add to your maintenance schedule, a couple times a year, and maybe at oil change, now we've gone to 300 hours, that would be a good time to to make sure that you don't have grass and debris in there, because that'll heat the engine up.
Yeah, absolutely. Our engine right now has just under 150 hours on it, so it's not that bad. But what happens is all that grass, leaves, debris goes down through here, and then it gets cut up, and it'll actually put it into here and over here. Correct, Mike?
Yep. Yeah, both of these sides are the same.
That's cool. So rather than going into your engine, they designed it so that it would go out of your engine.
Right.
And I want to show you the best part. Look at that. Not a single drop of oil. And if you're wondering what that is, that's from where we washed the mower because it was super filthy. All right, quit playing around.
Then what fun is it?
Hey guys, thanks for watching. We might not have answered all your questions. One thing we will do is when Sean puts this video up, we will monitor the comments, try to answer as many as we can. Key things to remember though, it's a ground up engineered oil with AMSOIL, it's not relabeled. You have cost savings from oil change and labor. And I think Mike did a pretty great job of showing you some little tricks and trades on doing an oil change.
Absolutely. Smash that thumbs up button to show Mike some support. That's not easy to just hop on camera. That's not his forte. His forte is engines and Kohler. So great job, Mike. Absolutely. Thanks. Great job. I personally, myself and TQ, want to thank you guys for coming down from Wisconsin, taking a few days here and just coming down here to show everybody this. You know, I didn't want to put it out without having the answers because I don't know this stuff. This is your guys' specialty. I make videos and cut grass. So thank you guys for coming down. Great big thank you to Kohler Engines for having you guys come down. That was awesome of you. So as always, keep mowing, keep growing, keep making money, boys. We'll talk to you later. TQ out. Peace. Bye.
Bye.